Hey guys, welcome back to the April 2024 episode where we're going to be looking at this month's free Unreal Engine Marketplace assets. We're going to get in there, we're going to bring them in, and we're going to play around with them a little bit. So let's go ahead and have a look at what we've got going on here. If we look right over here, we've got the Ancient Golem, which is a character, pretty cool looking one. We have our Gothic Cathedral. We have a Clouds lighting system, which is a code plugin. And then we have a Stylized Clay Forest Village pack. And then the Watermills Nature Environment from an absolutely amazing design studio. I've actually sent a couple of students of mine over to work on some of these things. The artwork always turns out super great. But we've got, I can see the Watermills and the Gothic Cathedral here, and the Ancient Golem even, kind of fitting into the same kind of aesthetic. But our Stylized Clay Forest here is steps a little bit outside of that, but we're going to find a way to make these all work together after we look at them. And then this Clouds lighting system is a code plugin, so we're not going to try and bring this one in for the experiment, but we will look at what it does. So let's first jump in. We're going to look at this Ancient Golem here, see what we got. That looks absolutely beautiful to me. I love the way that this looks. Oh yeah. We come through here. This would make a fantastic boss enemy for an RPG game, maybe even a sci-fi game. Coming into some ancient planet, stumbling upon it. Look at some of the detail that we've got on here. This looks really good. Love those hands. Love the way the metal looks on this. Go ahead and go back now. Next up, we have this Gothic Cathedral asset set, and a unique modular asset pack with fractal-based decor patterns and engravings. 158 individual meshes in total. We look through here. I downloaded this earlier. It looks like there's already an update to it. But we look through here. It doesn't include trees and bushes. That's fine. That's fine. We're looking at mostly the actual building assets here. Looking through here, it looks very, very dark. Very spooky, creepy. I can see this being used in like a dark RPG, maybe a Souls type. Going through here, looking at this. Yeah, this, what's funny about this one is this particular set right here, or this view that we're looking at, reminds me a lot of a particular dungeon in the MMO Terra that I used to play back in the day. So love how that turns out. It's pretty nostalgic. We got this yard here. Okay, we got some statues going on. Looking through this, looks pretty nice from a distance. Love the gate here. Too bad the trees and stuff aren't in this pack, so that would definitely be pretty cool to be able to easily set up and run around in. We got a lot of pictures in this one. The uploader did a very good job including a lot of imagery, so you know exactly what you're getting. We look here and we can see the actual meshes that are a part of it. So we've got a lot of modular pieces here. I love that. I love that there's not that many major pieces in general. So we're building out these entire cathedrals with just a few modular pieces. That's the way to do it. Absolutely love it. Looks like we have some distance meshes back here, and I guess we do have a little bit of foliage. Don't know what that is. Okay, here we go. Some close-ups. Man, they got a lot of imagery in this. It's really good. So some interior stuff. We got some, some benches, a chest, crates. I love the hanging lights. I like having all of these here. Those are very useful. Let's see, come through here. Exterior, we've got all these statues. Here are some arches and everything. Cemetery, it's cool. Definitely useful. This pack could definitely be useful even if you just need to have like a cemetery in your game or your project or whatever, because these right here are some really nice little pieces here, nice little assets. Okay, here we go, the foliage. Okay, we got a few plants. Okay, we got some leaf piles, it looks like, or is that could be like cedar wood chippings maybe. We got some little ground plants over here, and we got a few rocks. Okay, cool. Ooh, we got some effects. There's a local fog and fire, probably for the candles inside of the cathedral. Floating dust, that's cool. I wonder if that's Niagara or Cascade. I hope it's Niagara. Hope they all are. Oh, so this is this is an interesting image right here, because we see the cathedral in the background, and I get the purpose of this particular image. I get the reasoning behind it, you know, but it explicitly says in the description for this pack that trees and bushes and grass and stuff like that are not included, and that's the vast majority of this image right here. So it could be a little bit deceiving. So you might come into this, you might grab this, and you might expect that you're gonna get a lot of this, like these trees and the bushes and everything, but it explicitly says in the description that we don't. So luckily it's free for the month, so it's not something that we're buying and, you know, being surprised by that. But just keep in mind that we don't get any of this stuff here. Supposedly, we'll see. And we have more foliage. We have our cathedral behind more foliage, okay? Looks pretty cool back there. All right, so that's a lot of images in that one. I like that they did it that way. Let's come down here and look at the clouds lighting system last, since we're not going to be doing the actual code plugin when we're playing around with it. But let's go ahead and jump over to the Watermills nature environment right here. And let's see, we have with foliage. Okay, so with foliage and 80 unique meshes. We come down here, talking about the ultimate level art tool. That's a separate thing, but looking at this here, let's go ahead and have a look at these images. Okay, so that looks really nice. That's some definite quality there. And I'm used to this particular studio. I'm used to some real AAA quality work coming out of them. Like I said, I've sent a couple of students over there already to work on some of these projects. And like, I'm really proud of what they've done, and I'm really, really excited about seeing like a lot of the art coming out of this studio. All of their packs are great. So the fact that we get a free pack from them for the month, that is amazing. Do not miss this. The quality of assets coming out of this studio are mind-blowing. So let's have a look at this next one. Here we go. We've got a close-up, and I like how when they're doing their imagery here, you know, they're taking you know, some actual cinematic camera and photography concepts into their imagery. So they're making use of depth of field and focus and everything. And, you know, we can see in here, this comes out looking really, really good. Some of the green in here is really, really bright, which might normally throw you off, but remember that this is a Watermills environment, so there's water everywhere. So these plants in here are getting just a lot of water. Maybe they're not getting so much sun. They're not getting so much sun because it's kind of enclosed and underground, but they are getting a lot of water, so you know that kind of feeds into how green it is down here. You know, me right now, I'm living in San Diego, California, and we don't have a lot of green most of the time, most of the year. You know, it's a more kind of a desaturated greens and browns and all of that for a lot of our trees and grass and everything, but we've been having so much rain the last 2 or 3 months that you know, I look out in my backyard and my grass is just super green. So that all that water really, really makes a difference. Let's go in here. We look at this. Oh, I like this. So we're looking straight back over here. Got some nice light, you know, accentuating this area here. We'll get in here into this environment and we'll see exactly what it's doing. I believe it's probably a lot smaller than you might think it is, but with all of these assets condensed in there, you know, used in a way that makes them look really good. Let's pop over here and we're going to see another close-up of this area. Over here, yeah, we keep looking in the same direction, so I think that's all that we're going to see in this pack, but it looks really, really good. Coming over here, yeah, here we go. Once again, looking in this same main direction, so there was clearly a focused area that they worked on here. Let's look at the next one. Oh, here we go. So we see this in, this looks like detail lighting only mode. Super cool, super cool. I love seeing that. Okay, so here we see some of our custom assets that we've got in here. for our little kit. And then another detail lighting only mode. I love that they're putting so much imageries in here. Me as like a primarily an environment artist at my core, I just love seeing, all of this imagery that's being put into these environment packs on the marketplace. All right, so let's go ahead and go back, and now let's take a look at the Stylized Clay Forest Village pack. We look in here and we see, what does it say? A vibrant pack of 50 plus assets, including meshes, post-processed materials, and atmospheric effects. Watch the trailer below for a closer look. Let you guys do that on your own. But for now, let's have a look at the actual imagery here. I'm gonna open this up and look at it. Okay, so we have a very specific type of stylized. So when it comes to stylized art, that's a very, very broad category, actually. That's it's like it's saying, fantasy, fantasy genre. What do we have in the fantasy genre? Well, we have high fantasy, Tolkien fantasy, low fantasy, gritty fantasy, sci-fi fantasy, all of that. So stylized, you can stylize in many different ways. So we see a very specific type of stylization in this one right here, where we do have that kind of flat color going on in the lower resolution textures, but we also have this clear outline going on. So it's a very, very drawn style. So, this isn't Fortnite, this isn't World of Warcraft. This is a very, very artistic drawn style here. I kind of like it. Let's go in here. We get really close. Yeah, you can see the outlines on here. Almost like a colored in comic book type of thing. One thing that I can really see with this one right here being really useful is, even if you don't use any of the assets themselves in your project, I feel like the post-process materials that allow it to have this kind of look could be really useful for turning any project into something that's a little bit more drawn out looking. So let's come in here, look at this, featuring 50 plus assets, props, materials, post-processing, particles. Okay, so I like these little houses. These are cute little houses. We got some farming stuff going on here. I love these fences. We got some, these are supposed to be like dirt roads. Let's go back. Yeah, these are definitely supposed to be for like dirt roads and stuff like that. I love this little this pile of logs right here. Those are really, really cool looking. I like how that turned out. Let's go next. Oh, okay. So I guess this didn't really jump out at me when we were looking at the bigger images. The water. Like the water shader that we have going on here, and just like really seeing this reflection that we have going on. I'm guessing that they're probably using the single layer water shader, because that would make it a lot easier and more performant to try and pull a look like this off. Really cool, really cool. Over here, okay. So the materials, they have a lot of parameters on here. Texture inputs. Okay, so this is cool. This like really feeds into the stylized aspect of it, if we're going to talk about this from an actual game development perspective. So we look over here, we see the texture inputs. We have albedos and we have normal map textures. So notice that we don't have any ORM masks. So we don't have ambient occlusion. We don't have roughness, and roughness is a really big thing in here to have that that more realistic, photorealistic look, is having some really good roughness variations. So I'm seeing that we don't have a roughness texture, so probably not a lot of variations. I do see a roughness value down here. So it's having a flat roughness value across the entire material, the entire mesh. So that's really good for the stylized aspect. And of course, no metalness masks. So we're not, trying to mask out different metal pieces, but I do see that down here, we do have a metallic value parameter, which means that they are including some kind of metalness in here. So the ability to have metalness in your materials, which one thing that I've heard a lot from a lot of people, a lot of like, especially junior artists, when they're first, in their student stage, haven't broken into the industry yet. And they think about stylized and they think about PBR and, physically based rendering. And they look at it And then it becomes one of those things where they're like, well, I don't need to understand PBR because I want to do stylized. I want to do all of my work stylized. So why do I need to understand physically based rendering, something that's rooted in realism? And there are two reasons for it. There are two reasons that somebody working in stylized needs to understand PBR in today's climate. So the first reason being that if you look at a lot of these studios that are hiring especially environment artists and prop artists, for their stylized projects. We're talking Blizzard, we're talking Riot, anybody who's got some kind of stylized project. One thing that I know from sending students over there, as well as talking to recruiters and artist friends that are over there and everything, is when you're applying for these positions at studios like that, they don't really want to see your stylized portfolio necessarily. Now, obviously, having stylized work in there that's really good is going to help you get the job. But one of the main things that they want to see is your more photorealistic work. The reason for that is stylized. So stylized art is at its core an exaggeration of realism. So being able to understand how to do realism, how to do realistic looking artwork, and then exaggerate that to reach that point of stylization, that's the key. That's the secret. If you're trying to get into, like a job of being a stylized artist. The second reason is PBR, physically based rendering, was actually initially invented for more cartoony, stylized stuff. You look at your Pixar movies. Why do your Pixar movies look so good? Well, that's because they're using PBR, physically based rendering, for all of their 3D art. This is really good that they have that in there. Let's kind of run through some of these. Wind. Okay, so there's wind in this. Maybe not something you're used to seeing in a game that might look a lot like this, which I would think would be more like an isometric 2D looking sort of thing. It's coming here. Ooh, particles that follow wind trails. We got some ambient dust. Projecting cloud shadows, light functions, very nice. So it's very, very detailed, stylized pack here. And when you're doing stylized art, a lot goes into that. Okay, cool. So we got that. We're going to look at that one too. Now let's come over here and we're going to look at this clouds lighting system. So this is an actual code plugin, volumetric clouds dynamic illumination system. We can see that right there. It looks really good. There's a video. I encourage you to click on this and, have a look at what the video shows. But this is a code plugin, so you do have to, as you see by the button here, it's not add a project, it is install to engine. So once you do that, it's going to show up in your plugins options in your project. So you would have to actually turn it on to be able to use it. But if we were to come in here and look at some of the imagery here, this is really cool. This is really cool. I could see myself actually making use of this in a project. Some clouds with some lightning up in the sky. I can see that, but I can actually see this using this kind of tech for, like localized fog. If I could bring these clouds down to being more looking like a localized volumetric fog and then have this kind of lighting effect in there, I would absolutely love that. I could find a use for that, definitely. We can see the different colors that we got available here, adjustable size and intensity, different light source types. This is starting to sound really expensive. I think we might do a separate video even where we get in and we use this because it might be cool to look at. Okay, so not as much imagery in there, but it's a code plugin, and I have a feeling that this video is going to, it's going to give us a better feeling of what this is doing. But for now, what we're going to do is we're not going to do the code plugin for this test project, but we are going to use the other 4. So we're going to use the 3 different environments, and we're going to use the ancient golem here. So I'm going to go ahead and create a project, add all of these to project, and then we're going to be right back after that to start playing around with it. All right, here we are in our project with everything installed in here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the ancient golem first. So I'm going to come into this. I'm going to go into the maps folder, and I'm just going to open up this ancient golem right here, see what we've got. Go ahead and close out my content browser. I'll even go full screen with this to have a look at this. Oh yeah. Hit G on my keyboard to go into game view, and we get in really close and we start looking at this right here. I really like how the metalness on this turns out. Very nice, very nice. Oh yeah, I love the some of the roughness response on there going on. Looks like we have a bunch of different poses here, so these are probably for the animations. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to drop in and play. Ooh, I'm hanging off the edge here. All right, getting a little bit of a frame rate issue on this. Okay, there we go. It's stabilizing. It's probably from a bunch of stuff running on my computer. Okay, we got a walking. Looks like we got some jump start, jump in animations going on in the background, but looking at this walking one right here, I like that. Coming over here, seeing how this rotates. That's really nice. That's really useful. I like how we have the main body. It's moving around in this idle state, but then we look in the center here and we've got it rotating around. We got the ball rotating around, and we got this little, looks like a drill down here that's rotating as well. So we're definitely getting some good animations in there that's really dynamic and really extra. Okay, let me get out of full screen there. I'm going to bring my content browser back up. Look in here. I see we have an animation folder. So we look in here. There's... Okay, so we see the moving animations with... let's see, our wheels here. That's what I like right there. I like that. Open this guy up. Okay, we got some, some twirling around and all that. That's good. That's good. Popping up in, what's this, demo folder? Okay, so this is where all of the animations for the actual, like the character part of it are. Okay, so let me open up this third-person idle. Okay, here we go. So our golem here, we've got our primary shell of a body as one skeletal mesh, and then it would look like the, going back into here, the other pieces are separate skeletal meshes. Do we have any kind of blueprint in here that does anything with that? I see a third-person anim BP in here. I open this up. All I see is the golem shell there. If I look at the anim graph, let's see our default state machine. What do we got? We have an idle run, and we have a jump loop, jump in, and it looks like that's all we have for the animation blueprint. So it's got that simple, the Unreal Engine 4 mannequin workflow in there for that. So that could be useful if you want to set up a character with it. But it does also have the other piece as well. Let's go to the meshes folder. Okay, so we can see, here's our skeletal mesh for our golem, and then we have our other pieces as well. So we have a golem, we have the wheel, and then we have the moving wheels right here. So something that we could do with this, I'm just gonna, up here in content, we're gonna create a new folder. I'm gonna call it my stuff. Popping in here, create another new folder. I'm gonna call this ancient golem. I think I added an N on there. I didn't need to do that, so let's take that off. And then I'll go into this folder. Let us see what we can do if I were to, let's go into our third person here. And I'm going to take my BP third person character, and then I am just going to drag it over to the ancient golem folder in the my stuff. I'm going to copy here, go into that, rename this BP ancient golem character. There we go, like that. I'm gonna open this guy up, and what I want to do is I want to go into my ancient golem. I'm going to go into meshes right here. I'm going to find my mesh in my new third person character here. We're going to find the SK ancient golem, and I am just going to assign it. Here we go. Looking at this, all right, it's currently using I believe that is it's using Quinn's animation blueprint right there. So if we were to just use this with Quinn's animation blueprint. I kind of want to see what this looks like, just adding that in there. So I'm going to go ahead and go create a new level real fast, just a basic one. And then I'm going to, in here, also create a game mode real fast. So we're going to come up here to blueprint class. I'm going to go to game mode base, BP underscore ancient golem game mode, like that. We're going to open this guy up. And for my default pawn class, let's go ahead and change this to our BP ancient golem character. So here we go. We'll save that up right there. In my new map, I'm going to go into world settings, game mode override. I'm going to change to my BP ancient golem game character. And now if I were to drop in and play, now I got this guy. And looks like he is, yeah, he's definitely rigged to the epic skeleton because Quinn's animation blueprint actually works with the golem, so we don't even have to do anything there. Okay, so yeah, let's have a little bit of fun with this now. Let's go into this and let's find. I can close this out because I have it done. Okay, so here's my ancient golem. Here is, let's see, my camera boom. What I'm going to do is I am going to select it. I'm going to come over here to my target arm length, and we're going to bring this down. We're going to bring it down to something like, I'm going to say 200, and then I'm actually going to move the camera boom up a little bit, so it's a little bit more aimed at the center of the chest right here. I'll go ahead, hit compile, save, and then move this out of the way. I'll go ahead and close my content browser for a moment. Gonna drop in and play. There we go. Now I'm close up here. All right, yeah. And of course, looking at the front versus the back, it's almost, unless you look at the hands, it's difficult to tell which is which. But okay, so we got this, we got this. All right, let's see what happens if we put in his actual animation blueprint. So I'm gonna go back up to my mesh here. Over here with the mesh selected, animation mode, use animation blueprint. Anim class, I'm going to change it from Quinn. I'm going to type in ancient. Oh, no. Maybe golem? No. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up our content browser here. And we're going to go into, I think, demo. Third person anim BP is what it's named. Okay, all right. So I will assign that. Okay, now we've got some animations that are a little bit more specific. We can see how when we switch from Quinn to the one that's provided, he gets a little bit of a lean forward. So now if I were to drop in and play, okay, it's easier to tell where's the front and where's the back. Okay, so yeah, these animations specifically for it. Okay, next up, what I'm gonna do is let's bring our content browser back up. I'm gonna go ahead and dock it in the layout. And then what I wanna do is I am going to select my mesh. I'm gonna browse to it so I get back to this folder. And now let's bring our ancient golem moving wheels in here. So I'm going to bring this in and add it to the mesh here. We'll bring this wheel in and I'm going to add it to the mesh as well. Where does this place these guys? Okay. Let's see. We see these guys we brought in. They are down here. I'm guessing that they probably need to be attached to a socket. Let's have a look at this guy right here. I'm gonna actually double click on this. We're gonna bring his skeleton here. Look through the skeleton tree. Yeah, we have a spine socket, and down here we have a head socket up here. So that we've got these two pieces. Makes sense if that's where they should go. So let's take this guy and I'm gonna go ahead and set it to use animation asset, not animation blueprint, and we'll give it its moving wheel. There we go. That looks nice. And now up here under parent socket, I'm gonna click on the browse and we're gonna see all of the sockets available on the parent, which is our main shell here, which we can see because we added it underneath that in the components. So I'm gonna go to the spine socket, and that's gonna put it right there, right where it should be, but it's rotated awkwardly. So let's see about rotating this guy, what, 90 degrees? There we go. So -90, and then now, yeah, that looks, that definitely looks about right there. And then our head, gonna go ahead and set this to use animation asset. We're gonna do the animation, the single animation it has for that. Okay, there we go. And then I'm going to change the parent socket on this to the head socket. Oh, there we go. And we're a little out of place. A little out of place. Let's see if I maybe rotate this around. It's hard to grab it in here, so I'm going to do it over here. Let's look at the X. Okay, maybe if we do 90, and then let's see about moving it back some, or maybe we want the rotation to be, let's see. Let's think about this. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go back to my ancient golem map here and see what we got going on. And it looks like it fits in there like that. Kind of, okay, we got a lot of rotations and everything like that going on for this. So let's see, what can we do here? I know we need it going in this direction in terms of rotation. Let's move you over this way, and we'll see about, I'm actually going to go to my mesh here, and I'm just going to change it to use animation asset real fast so that he's in his A pose here. Then we're going to take this and make it a lot easier to move this guy around. It's kind of weird that the pivot point is way over here. I think that might be the main problem. Let's see, snapping of 10's not working. Let's drop down to 5. Okay, let's drop down to 1. I'm going to go into my front view here, and we're going to zoom in a little bit. And there we go. And then let's see. Let's go to the right view. I'll move you back. There we go, right in the middle. And then I move it up some. I can go back into my perspective now. And I think maybe I can move it down a little. There we go. Okay. So now let's fix up our capsule height. So I'm going to click on my capsule component here. Let's see, my capsule radius. I'm okay with this. It's pretty good right here. But my height, let's drop it in half, like maybe 45. And then we're going to grab our mesh and we're going to take it down some. Okay, so 45 may even be too big. What if I were to do, say, 40? Okay, there we go. So 40 kind of encompasses this in a way that's gonna work for me, I think. All right, so go back to my mesh. I'm gonna change it back to use animation blueprint. There we are in there. My capsule component, my radius might be a little much. Let's do 30. There we go. I think that's gonna work a little bit better for me there. Okay, so I'll hit compile. I'll save. Move this out of the way, and we can go back into a new level. So a new basic level, new basic map. Close this down. I'm going to Alt-P to drop in and play. All right, so now, bringing the capsule height down doesn't quite work right here because it brings me too close to the ground. So we could fix this up in a different way, but I think I'm going to go ahead and just increase the capsule size here, bring it back up to like, say, 70 maybe, because the original was 90. What if I were to do 60? And then we're going to bring the mesh up towards the top of it. That means we are going to get a little bit of collision over here, but that's going to be okay because that still gives it, there's an area where it has to float. Maybe I'll make this a little bit bigger, bring it back up to 70. Still think the 90 is too much, but I'm going to move this up, the mesh up to where the top of the head meets the top of the capsule there. Okay, there we go. We'll hit save. We'll drop in and play. There we go. There we go. Okay, so jump, and we jump, and we jump. Okay, so now we are the ancient golem. But of course, setting this up in our third-person blueprint here, since our third-person blueprint, we're playing as it, but since it is a character, which is a pawn, you can still use this as an enemy. You don't have to use this as something that you're playing as. You can still use it as an enemy. Okay, so now we have our ancient golem all set up, and we're good to go. We're ready to go with this. We can play as them. That's what we're gonna do. So let me close out all of these, and I'm gonna go ahead and save this level since I have my game mode set here into my stuff. Create a new one here. Maps. We're gonna go Golem test level like that. All right, so we have that saved. I'm gonna Control Shift S to save all. Now let's look at the other stuff that we have, the environmental stuff that we got going on. So up here in content, I'm going to look at the we're gonna look at the Gothic Cathedral first. So I'm going to go in there, go into maps. We'll open up the Gothic Cathedral map. We'll let that open up, see what it does. All right, here we go. And we are preparing shaders. Okay, we'll give that a moment. Uh-oh. 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 Okay, so we opened up the Gothic Cathedral map, and it caused a crash. That's not good. That's not a good sign. What do we have here? Just the Unreal renderer. We like our log here. We don't see anything specific, so I'm guessing it's just got some, I don't know, some issues rendering. I mean, I've had some pretty heavy projects that I've run on this machine. This is not you know, a weak machine that I have right here. This is a development machine that I use for professional high-end projects. So, I mean, trust me, my machine can handle very high-end scenes. So crashing on this, that's not a good sign. That does worry me. Now, I also remember when I was downloading these, the largest of all of the assets was this one. I think it was like 7 gigabytes or something like that. But okay, so here we are. We're in here. And we crashed again. All right, I'm going to hit send and restart this time. We may not be able to actually open up this showcase level. If you guys are able to open up this level, please drop a comment down below. Let us know. You know, because I want to see this level. If you've got some images, some screenshots you can do, you know, link to those in your comments. But I don't seem to be able to open up this actual level here. That is very worrisome. But let's open up the showcase level and see what we got. We got some, okay, so we've got our assets in here. This is going okay. I'm gonna go ahead and show my FPS right now. Yeah, see, I'm getting, you know, almost 90 FPS on this. So must be something in that specific map that's got something broken with it. Now, this is running on 5.3, so it might be a 5.3 thing. I don't know. But here we are. We're looking at these assets here. Okay. I'm gonna close you out so we can get a little bit more of a full screen view. Looking at these guys, getting in really close. Okay, I can see some detail in here. Okay, we got some detailed geometry. I really like these stairs. I like the detail in the geometry of these stairs. I like that they're the individual steps, it looks like. Let me go into, I'm gonna go into lighting only mode so we can see the actual geometry of these without the textures. Oh, hot diggity dog. Okay, we got some geometry on these things. And all of this detail in these meshes is in the actual meshes themselves. It's not just a normal map pulling this out. So that's really cool. It's really a high level of detail there. We go back to lit. We can see that. So now I think about that, and I think about how I would approach this as an environment artist myself. So when I have this much level of geometry, on something like this and going to the detail lighting so we see the normal maps. Okay, so this is a lot of geometry that is pulling out that detail. But still, even so, with that, I look at the texture here, and while I do see the the different albedos here, the different base colors. Let's look at unlit mode. Yeah, see, I see that actually that was very surprising to me. Let's go back to lit mode, and then we'll go into unlit. And that's not what I expected. I expected it to be an unlit version of what we were seeing in there. Let's come down here. I'm going to go to buffer visualization. I'm going to look at the base color of this. I look at the base color, and it should look pretty much almost exactly like what unlit mode does, but this is going to show just the base color albedo. So we see this right here. What is going on? Look at lit mode here. Okay. Also losing some FPS there for a minute. That doesn't make me happy. This particular map is okay. Now we're back up here. Something was going on there. I don't know. But if I look at this, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my static mesh. So I'm going to double click this. I'm going to look at it over here, and let's see. So we got our nanite triangles, 19,220. Okay, so we got a decent level of geo. Okay, so then my material. So I see in this, it looks different than it does out here. So let's look at our directional light, see what we got. Okay, so we got a light color in here. I'm going to reset that to default and see what we got. And it's still looking pretty much the same. Skylight, we're doing a real-time capture. We don't have an HDRI or anything. Everything seems kind of default on that. Post-process volume, let's see. Okay, so we got some, or at least I thought we had some color grading going on because of our reset to defaults here. Maybe not. Maybe. Oh, wait, gain. Okay, that's really weird that it wants me to reset these to default, but there's nothing actually going on in them. Okay, so it might be something with the sky atmosphere as well. I'm going to Control B to this guy, and we'll dock you in layout here, and Control B again. Okay, so here they are. Let's go back to our level, which is not showing in my recents because of that crash. Let's go to My Stuff, Maps, Golem test level. I'm not going to save this level here. We'll come back over here, navigate to it, and where'd you go? We're going to drag you out here. Okay, and some default lighting setups, it looks like a little bit more what I would expect. And if I were to go to unlit mode, I see. So unlit mode is giving me that. That should be the same as my base color. Yes. And if I go to lit, it should just look like that same thing, just with light, which it does. So that's telling me that even in the showcase level, there's something going on with maybe the post-processing or something like that. And I'm guessing that, especially judging by the original screenshots that we had looked at for this, that there's probably some kind of crazy post-processing going on in the bigger map as well. And that might be what's causing the crashing to happen on my end, at least. Okay, so these are cool looking. We definitely got some cool looking stuff out here. We have a lot of geometrical detail on these. And bringing them out here in the natural light actually, to me, is looking a whole lot better than what I saw in those screenshots with the lighting and post-processing that it had. Cool, I like these. It's unfortunate that I can't get into the map to see them all put together, but we do have this stuff here. But let me go ahead and go up some, and let's see, content. Go ahead and look at our water mills environment. So we'll go into that. I'm going to go into levels. Let's do the sample scene. I'm going to open up the sample scene here for this. I'll go ahead and save my test level. I'll leave those guys in there, see how they compare to the actual Golem later on. But here we are opening up this one right here, and it opened up a lot faster. So that tells me things are right, but I would expect nothing less from this studio. Okay, so we have a lot of stuff going on in here. We have a ton of particles. Let's click on this. What do we got? Water splashes. Okay. We got a ton of lights. Okay, so we have some very large sources of light here. I like that. That's going to get you a really solid look. But I do see a lot of lights in here. Let's see, that's stationary. These guys are stationary. Stationary. I'm not seeing any red X's. That's interesting. Ooh, water splashes. That's nice. But I do want to look at my light complexity. So I'm going to come down here to lit. We're going to go to optimization view mode. So I'm going to go to light complexity. And this would never work in a production environment, unfortunately. But of course, you know, to get the really good screenshots, you know, this is what's going on here. But this is a very screenshot focused, you know, very cinematic kind of experience here. Not really a game experience. Because right now we're here in the white. We got some of our better optimized areas are in the red and orange, which is up here, and this is still pretty bad. Usually you want to you would only hit into the yellow orange area if you were outside, and the only reason that you would ever allow it to get to this point if you're outside is because unfortunately you are also dealing with a a directional light that's adding the initial there. So everything is built on top of the directional light. When you're working on an interior space where you do not have a directional light that's coming in here and contributing, then, you know, you would definitely want to be in the blues and the greens at the most. So lighting wise, while it does look good, this would not work in production. And I saw that as I had my FPS up there that I was really embarrassed about seeing numbers like the 20s and 30s. But a lot of that probably comes from the lighting itself. But looking in here, I hit G to go to game view. And this is an absolutely beautiful environment we got going on. The water is a little white. But also I'm noticing that it changes as I move to different spots. So that's got some, probably some light stuff going on. Oh, we have a little bit of a cave opening here, but just as I thought, this is a really small map. I noticed that like when we were looking at the screenshots, you know, we were seeing just this view from basically like 50 different angles. So now it makes sense. Back here, we have a little bit going on, but mostly everything is right in here. There's no entrance or exit here. We do have this little cubby hole here, this little alcove. Okay, so that's definitely cool. I'm gonna pray on the collision that everything is set up right. I'm gonna go into my world settings here. I'm gonna change my game mode override to my ancient golem. And then I am going to Alt P to drop in and play. And then now here I am as my ancient golem in this environment. Ooh, we got some hot lights in here. I look at this and I'm actually bothered by the way things are happening with my spinning wheel part there, even though it seems like it should be. Looks like this guy needs to be rotated a little bit, so we can always fix that a little bit later. But okay, what if I were to go back to my world settings? I'm gonna drop in and do third-person game mode and hit play so I can run around as Quinn. Okay, we see this in here. Checking scale is what I'm doing. So looking at this, let's see. I think I'm mostly okay with the scale. The only thing that bothers me about this environment is the lighting. You know, that probably comes from lighting is a major focus in what I do in my day job. But otherwise, like the geometry, the textures, everything, it looks like I'm a little over budget. But yeah, I like this in here. Let me go ahead and grab something. I'm going to grab, let's see, this pillar right here and go to the details. I'm going to double click it over here in the details panel to open it up. We're going to look at this. And let's see, we got 5,629 triangles. Not bad. It's fairly high, fairly detailed, but with nanite, I feel like we could deal with this. I also noticed that it is not nanite, so it's not nanite by default here. But even so, I mean, this amount of geometry, you know, if you're in a small interior environment and this is all you're looking at, then, you know, this is fine. But if you're looking at a larger area, it might be good to lower this down a bit. But I look at this and I'm seeing my LODs. Let's see. LOD 1 drops it down to about half that, and it still looks good. Okay, and then LOD 2 from a distance, yeah, kind of loses its shape a little, but that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I think, okay, so the LODs are set up pretty decently on this. Let's look at the material here. All right, so first off, the first thing I noticed is I double clicked this and it went straight to a material, not a material instance. So they don't have a master material of any kind set up in this, which that's fine. That's fine. You can make your own, but we have our albedo, we have our normal, and we have our roughness here. Let's have a look at these. Okay, so this right here, this looks like it's 1024 by 1024 for the albedo texture. That's a decent amount of wasted UV space right here. I feel like, I know that, so if we had something like this on my current project, so right now, working over at Intrepid Studios on Ashes of Creation, for things like this, where we have a pillar like this, you know, this pillar would have a tileable texture on it. So it would have a tileable texture across the entire thing, and then we would be using part of our masking system in our major master material that we use to be able to add some little extra layers of detail on here. We'd probably go pretty heavy on utilizing the ambient occlusion, you know, to get some masking going on in here. Yeah, but ultimately the primary base of this would be a tileable texture, and then we would probably just have an ID mask with some extra like grunge layer layered on top of it, and we'd be able to accomplish the same kind of look. Now, in an actual professional environment, professional game studio, that's what you're going to be looking at. For a lot of these things on the marketplace, you know, you're going to get what you're going to get. And a lot of the times it's going to be just simple and straightforward because they're trying to get something out. But definitely, like if I was going to do this, I would do it with a tileable texture and then an ID masked layer system on top of it. Okay, so looking at that there, let me also have a look at the roughness here. So I'm going to look at this. And the compression setting for the roughness on this is set to default, which it's a single grayscale image here, which that's why generally, you know, you actually pack your roughness into the single channel of another texture. Oftentimes that's going to be your ORM, ambient occlusion, roughness, metallic. Sometimes that metallic gets replaced with something else, like an emissive mask or anything, because it just depends on if your project utilizes a lot of having both metal and non-metal in the same texture, in the same material. But this roughness generally would be one single channel. So that would be another thing that I would improve upon this if I was building this environment here. But this guy, so this, we're going to come back to this, and this one did have material instances for all of its stuff. So it did actually have a master material setup, and we can see that down here, it is using, I'm not sure what this is using, RGA. Okay, we have some layers going on here. I bet this is probably exactly what I was just talking about. Like, you know, one of the aspects of how we do it on our game, as well as many other projects I've worked on, where you have some kind of mask that's masking between the different materials. And I'm guessing, so here we have a base tileable rock surface. Okay, we have a second base tileable, and this would be probably our darker rocks here, I think, or maybe these are the lighter. Either way, this is how we're getting the different areas on this from that light gray to that darker one is through masking of these. So the Gothic Cathedral set has actually a really good material setup because it's using that layering with the mask, and we can see that we've got our ambient occlusion here. But if we come over here, that is some pretty beautiful ambient occlusion, but I'm going to pick on this one the same exact way I picked on the watermill environment, which is the fact that we are using a grayscale texture here and it's set to default compression settings. This should be in just a single channel, which one of the things that you can do is, since Unreal, when you use a normal map, it actually discards the blue channel. One thing that's really common in Unreal projects is to pack something like a single channel thing, like your roughness or ambient occlusion or something like that. You actually pack it into the blue channel of your normal map, and then you import that as masks, and then you combine your R and your G together, plus a solid color for the blue to make your normal map, and then you yank your normal map out of the or your ambient occlusion or your roughness or whatever it is out of the blue channel. But this is, the materials on this guy are definitely on the right track. I'm going to go ahead and close this stuff out, and I'm going to navigate to this, and I'm just going to drag it out in here. There we go. And we're going to see how these align with each other. So you can already see that when you bring this guy into this environment, it looks a lot different than in the showcase level because of the lighting. And it doesn't fit. I don't think you can really use these assets together. They don't really fit. They don't really fit together. But they could be used in the same project, I would say. And that's because they're kind of, looking at it this way, they do have a little bit of that same quality going on, especially with some like detail normal mapping here. So they could be used in the same project, but I don't think you would take these modular pieces and, slam them together in the same map. Okay, so we have that. Let's look at our other one here. Let's go to our Kobo Forest Village, and this is going to be our stylized one. So I'm going to go into levels here, and we're going to go to L demo, and then I'm not going to save this. And here we are. Let me close my content browser here. We're going to look at this. It actually looks a little dark. It doesn't look like what the screenshots do. It's definitely really dark. We have some notes over here. Let's see, talking about the project notes. Let's see, post-process materials. It is using RVT, runtime virtual texturing. That's really cool. Not used to seeing that in a stylized environment. Let's see, clay surface details can be adjusted in material instances. Oh wow, it's got hardware ray trace shadows ready to go. Let's see, animated meshes, subsurface scattering. Okay, so it's a little bit different from some effects I wouldn't normally expect to see in a stylized environment. But it does look a little darker than those images, and I wonder why. I'm not sure why. Let's go to our BP Sky Sphere. Okay, so this was put together prior to the Sky Atmosphere system. That's really interesting. Okay, so directional light, we're looking at 8 lux here. Should be a little bit brighter. Look at my post-process volume. I'm going to check my exposure here. We have an exposure compensation of 2.5. So that's actually brightening the image. But I look down here and I see there are auto exposure settings. Our min EV is set to 8. If I bring that down some, it's going to brighten it up quite a bit. Set this to 0. Oh, wow. Little too bright, too much. Let's drop our exposure comp down to default 1. Maybe I'll even drop it down to 0. Okay, so a min EV 100 of 0 and an exposure compensation of 0. And this gives me a little bit more what I expected, a lot more like what we saw in the screenshots. Okay, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to look up close to this here. Okay. Wow. Okay, so it's got like some thumbprints That's interesting. Oh, because it's clay. That's right, because it's a clay environment, stylized clay. So the thumbprints would be somebody who's, putting this together, with their hands, they're molding it, shaping it. That's a really cool effect. And I want to know how this is accomplished. So I click on this. That's a lot of material slots for a single mesh, but that's okay because it's a big thing. It's a house. But let's see. Where is it's probably this one right here, maybe? Okay, look at this. Let me check it on a square. All right. No, I think that's these guys down here. What about this one? No, no, this might actually be, wait. No, this is definitely what I was looking for. Okay, so here's another instance where it looks like we have some bespokely textured things in here. Now, if I was doing this on a production project, then we would absolutely be just using the crap out of tileable materials for this. And then maybe having material instances where we just have some procedural placement of these thumbprints. But I can see what I can see how they got here. I can see what they were going for with this. They probably wanted their thumbprints to be in very specific places, and obviously they wanted to take advantage of some ambient occlusion. But if I look at my albedo texture, okay, see, I look at this and what do I have here? I have not a lot of detail in here. I mean, not a lot of very specific detail. I can see a little bit of ambient occlusion in here, but you could actually use that with just, like an ambient occlusion mask. Otherwise, what's in my alpha channel? Okay, so I'm not sure what's going on with the alpha channel. I'm not sure why it needs an alpha channel that masks out essentially what the UVs are. Otherwise, the rest of it's the albedo. Like I can see using an ambient occlusion texture to add in, some of the ambient occlusion in here. But for the rest of it, I would still, like the rest of all this, I would still use like a tileable texture and, just have like a noise mask on top of it to get like some of this extra detail. Because I don't really see anything in here that's very specific. It does look like maybe when it was textured, there was a larger tiling noise texture just laid on top of this. So we could accomplish that with a tileable texture. And then, of course, the thumbprints right here, you could have the placement of the thumbprints be bespoke. That's fine. That is perfectly fine. We can see like maybe some indentions and everything here where, you're pushing in, but it doesn't quite have all the thumbprints on it. That I could see this being a bespoke normal map. But the albedo definitely could be a tileable texture. And if we did that, that would mean we would have the same single tileable texture used on every instance of, the daub of these houses here. And then we could do the same thing with the wood as well. And then instead of having bespoke textures for each house, we would be reusing textures. And so that would give us a lot more performance here. Then let's see, for the roofs too. I mean, I would use the same albedo on the roofs, just it would be grayscale, and I would use material instances to just add a tint to those to capture the color here. But that's how I would do it. That's not how it's done in here. This still, I think it looks pretty good. It looks really cool. It's very interesting. We do have some animation with the trees and with the flowers here, which is interesting when you consider that this is supposed to be all clay. So that's really, really, really trippy. Looking down here, that's cool. We saw our farm stuff around here. That's cool looking. Now the water right here, okay, we got our rocks. The rocks are definitely cool. I like how they really read to me as clay. But this water right here, oh wait, what? Oh, we just got some planes going on. So we have a bunch of planes right next to each other. Okay. Let's look at the material. I'm going to guess this is a single layer water shader. So I'm going to open up this material right here. Let's have a look at this. Okay, that's really cool looking. Looking at, okay, absorption, opacity, edge distance, absorption, color. I'm definitely guessing that this is single layer water shader. Let's check this out. I'm going to scroll down here. We can see our parent material, M water. And if I look at material property overrides, let's drop this down. Yes, our shading model is single layer water shader. I was right, single layer water shader. Let me open this up and have a look at it. Okay, okay. We have a lot going on in here. Water displacement, panning normals. Let's see. This is some stuff going on for our watercolor, and then our actual edges. Water caustics. Okay, single layer water material node right here, feeding in. Okay, so a really simplified way of doing the absorption color here. Yeah, this is all pretty standard for a single layer water material, custom single layer water material. So really good. I like that. Really cool. Looking in all of this. Okay, so there's a post-process volume in here. I know because we already found it to change some things. Let's go into this. I'm going to scroll down. It's like we got some color grading going on. What are we doing with saturation? We're increasing it. What are we doing with contrast? We're increasing it. Okay, okay, okay. I got you. I got you. We're offsetting our shadows a little bit. Okay, that's interesting. Let's come down here. We're using Lumen. Super cool. Using Lumen for stylized. Here's what I wanted. Post-processing material. 2 of them. Okay. So let's see. What do we have here? Our outline. Let's look at this guy. This is a material instance based off. That's actually really cool to look at right there like that. Based off of our M outline. What are we doing? Okay, so we got a tent going on here for the primary, and we're using our scene texture to get our color. We're using an if node. Okay, so we got an outline material set up. So if you get this pack, something really good about it is you can come in here and you can look at how to put together an outline material. So that is pretty cool. And one thing I noticed up here when I was just kind of scrolling through is we do have this outline toggle, which is a post-process settings in a material collection. So this material collection parameter, material parameter collection, is going to give us the ability to change this globally, which is also pretty cool. Okay, so let's see this guy right here. Let's navigate to it. I'm gonna open it up. Here we go. Scalar params, outline toggle. So how this material parameter collection is going to work is we look at this and we see that everything has the outline on it. Let me get closer to like this house here where you can tell a little bit more. If I were to change this value to 0, now everything becomes really softer and we lose that outline. So this is really cool that there's a global toggle for being able to have that outline on there. Then apparently there's a filter intensity here. What happens if I do 0? Okay, okay. So it's doing some softening of some of those details in there. That's cool, that's cool. But so if I were to come in here and I am going to go to world settings and change my game mode override to my ancient golem, pop in here and I'm gonna drop in and play. And now there we go. I get a little bit darker in here, but I do still have my metalness and everything. What happens if I look in this direction? Okay, it is definitely darker overall, but I can see how it's got this outline about it now. So what I'm going to do for funsies here, I'm going to go to my post-process volume, and I am going to navigate to my outline here. Dock and layout, navigate to outline. I'm going to go back over to my Golem test level. And in my Golem test level, I'm going to go up here. I'm going to add a post-process volume. And in this post-process volume, we're going to come down to here, our post-process volume settings, make it infinite extent unbound, so it's the whole thing. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back up here to the rendering features under post-process material. I'm going to add one to the array. I'm going to change my drop down to choose asset reference. Why this is a drop down? I would say I don't know, but I actually do know. They used to have more options in here in Unreal Engine 4. Now they just have asset reference because that's the only one anybody ever used. So it's probably just an artifact left over that nobody just converted that to being just a single thing that we can, bring something in here. So it's probably still an enumerator that doesn't need to be an enumerator anymore. But we have this. I'm going to drag this M outline over here. I'm going to drop it on. And now there we go. See the outline on this. I'm going to drop in and play. And here we go. Now with some lighting and post-processing that's a little bit more set up for the golem here. I can see I've got some nice outline on here. Let me go back up into my content here. I'm going to go to the watermills environment. We're going to go to meshes and let's see what we have here. I'm going to bring out, wait, do we have any, let's see, blueprints? Sunlight? No, that's not what I want. Anything with, no. So so I'm going to go ahead. I don't need to save these things or save that there. I'm just going to save my golem test level. I'm going to go back into my watermills environment, which one was that? That was the sample scene. Okay, here we go. Not going to save those. Let that open up. Here we go. And in here, do we have a post-process volume already? Yes, we do. So I'm going to come into this. I'm going to add an element, asset reference, and for this, I'm just going to type in outline. Here we go. Here's our MI outline right here. And now we look at this. Let's go ahead and get rid of our content browser. And now we can see everything in here has that kind of comic book outline stylized to it. But we do see a lot of that happening in the detail normals here. Okay, maybe even more so than the outlines of the specific elements. But we do get some really cool outlines on things like that. So I could drop in here with Quinn, who's got some pretty heavy outlines going on her from that post-process material. Let's go ahead and change our game mode override to Ancient Golem. I'll drop in here, and I am going to fly around with him, looking very comic book style. This is actually pretty cool right here. I actually kind of really like this. Having, you know, a realistic environment that has a little bit of that outline to it, you know, almost Borderlands style, but just reaching a little bit more realism. But still having that outline, it gives a new level of stylization here that I really like, and I think could be really good at doing some interesting storytelling. But that right there, that is what we have for these three environments that we had. We have our Ancient Golem and everything that we're able to use in here, and how we could fit these together. You know, a lot of these pieces don't really fit together that well in the same project. Something that I might do if I was going to play around with this a little further would be to just have different levels set up with the different assets themselves, and then make it to where you were able to run through them as the Ancient Golem, and maybe there were like little puzzles in there where you get keys that you can open up portals, and those portals would take you to the other maps. Now, I would say the process that I would do that in, I would start with a map made with the Gothic Cathedral assets, where you've got this kind of more of an open world and you're running around, and you know, you go into the cathedral, you do whatever you need to, you find your keys and all that, and it opens up a portal, and that portal transports you down here to this watermills environment. And I would knock out this whole wall here is what I would do. I would knock out this whole wall, and then I would use the assets in this pack to expand it a little bit further. And then that way you've got a little bit more level design to it. And then you could, you know, you would start way back here or something, and you'd have to go through and you would find, you know, some kind of little puzzle, some kind of key, maybe there would be a door right here. Maybe I would have like, I don't know, I feel like, no, maybe not that, but maybe there could be something that you find a key or something that you can activate something inside of here that then maybe opens up this door, and you could go through, and inside of there, which I can see that there's actually some detail in there. That's really cool. Inside of here, let's bring a point light in here. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so there could be something inside of here that, go to the top here. I'm going to drop this down to 4. Okay. Something in here, maybe we find a crank or something that you can hit here, and then once you do that, you know, you can come through, not that wall. We would have to take this and rotate it around some. You know, maybe move it back a little. In here, you come out, you find, you do what you need to, you hit that crank, you come out of here, and then it opens up a portal right here. And then going through that portal would take you to the stylized clay world. And then you'd have to adjust the lighting a little bit and maybe some materials and all that to set it up so the ancient golem worked in there a little bit better. But then you have like this, just this little mini game where you're going through these 3 different worlds, and you ultimately end up in that stylized clay world. And that could be pretty fun. If I had more time, that might be something that I would do and play around with. Maybe I will play around with that later. If I ever do, then I'll be sure to show it to you guys. But for now, that's our April free assets. We've got some cool stuff in here. You might be able to use it for one of your projects. You might be able to pull some pieces out of these, like I did with the outline material, to drop into a different project. You know, whatever. Doesn't matter. It's free. It's free for the month of April 2024. So sometime before this month is over, I do recommend adding it to your cart and then adding it to your library, because you may not be able to ever again. So there we have it.